Hi, I'm Brian, and I'm building this 38-foot sailboat. In the last episode, we finished the whiskey plank for all these little planks, battens that we had to put on to make the hull. In this episode, we'll fare the hull before I start applying the layer of plywood, and we start work on the transom, which is right here, and we cut it and we start making these battens to glue up and fit in place and support the transom. So we're busy fairing the boat. It's a dark brown color because we're using the sawdust that we've collected from all the sanding that had been done and reusing it as it's just sawdust and epoxy already, adding it to a new mixture of epoxy and just fairing out the rough spots in the boat just to make it easier to stick the plywood to it. And we got Pa here mixing up a batch of epoxy. He's adding this fine sawdust to the mix, and we're going. It's taking a fair amount epoxy to do it, but this will get rid of all the low spots, so we'll be able to stick the plywood on really well. So what's the consistency of the epoxy we're putting on?
Well, after we mix this up, it will have the same consistency as molasses cookies. We were up at Scott's and Nina made some molasses cookies, and looking at this and looking at the molasses cookie dough, it'd be pretty hard to tell them apart.
Dad and I managed to get the rest of the boat faired yesterday, so now today it's on to sanding, just again knocking off the high spots, and if there's any major low spots I'll have to go back and touch them up. So to get this back angle for my transom, I drew a line from the inside of my transom where it would be flat, right here at this junction on the inside of it, and brought it up to where it would meet the keelson. Then I set up my laser level here, which you can see is shining, and shot it along and got to the points where it was supposed to hit at, and I've traced those lines out. See the lines right there, and it comes down and meets the very bottom corner of my rub rail bracker, which is what the plans say it's supposed to. And it comes up and it hits into the outside edge of the keelson. So that's this. Now what I have to do is I have to put a 2.5 inch batten, which is going to end up being 1.5 inches thick, bend it around this curve, and then I'll be able to put my transom onto that. So we got the lower batten on here, basically sized and glued together, clamped in place. Going to have to leave it to harden, and then I'll have to round over this back edge and cut this so that it'll fit the profile of the transom. But just waiting for the glue to dry now. We also have this upper side to fit, which is going to be a little bit more challenging due to this huge curve right here. So we'll see how we get along. So I got the first of 3 layers on. I had to cut a couple of relief cuts into this, and as you can see, it's a lot of small pieces. Next layer I'm going to overlap and all I'm doing right now is just sticking a few screws in here so I can take all the clamps off so I can put the second layer on. So I got all the pieces cut and made up for the back batten that I have to put on, and we have a bunch that I had to cut, make relief cuts so it would bend tight enough. These relief cuts are all on the front side, so I'm going to pre-fill them with epoxy and then fold it in, which will squeeze the epoxy out, whereas if it was on the back side, they would open up and I wouldn't be sure that it was filled. So my next steps now are to pre-coat them all, put the filler in all these cross hatchings, and then fill one side so as we're laminating them up, we are allowing them to stick together. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, like, subscribe, and leave a comment.